Parents, be honest. We often slacken up on our commitments to our children, right? Yes. So today we have prepared a formula for you to change that. Joining me is Interim CEO of the National Parenting Support Commission, Mr. Andre Miller. Thanks for coming, Andre.
Thanks for having me.
One of the first things that I want to talk to you about is having your children read books from the book list before school begins.
Well, that's a good point. One of the things that we recognize is a widely held notion that children are not reading. That's not so. They are reading. What we note is that children are passive readers, especially during the summer period. So we must differentiate between information and education. So children will engage with reading via the WhatsApp and Twitter and Facebook. They are reading. But what you find is that that's passive reading. And passive reading does not necessarily augur well for their cognitive development. Whilst active reading suggests that your child is embracing their intellectual rigor and their cognitive skills, and they're now engaging with the learning process. Maybe your child loves technology, and so maybe you can engage them by sending articles via WhatsApp to their phones that they can read, and you can question them about what they have read, and that is preparing your child to actually ready themselves for the new school year.
That's very good. And another problem that we have with our children in the school system is that some of these children are constantly late. So what do you have to say about, setting a bedtime and sticking to it and a wake-up time?
As you rightfully said, there should be a set time for your children to go to bed. But we go further to suggest that there are benefits for your children to take on these behaviors. In facilitating structure in the child's life, what you're doing is preparing the child for their adult years. You're teaching your child responsibility. So they're learning that there are consequences for staying up late.
A lot of parents are falling prey to feeding their children snacks that they know their children like, but are not necessarily nutritious or good for them. What do you have to say to parents about that?
Well, let's be frank. Children will always love cheese tricks and bag juice. When I was a boy, I loved cheese tricks and bag juice. And they're nice. But children will only engage in things that they want and not necessarily things that they need. And so parents have a role to play in the process. So help them to balance. So some cheese tricks today, but ensure that you have a lot of pineapple and a lot of melon tomorrow.
And another thing that a lot of parents are guilty about is, waiting until last minute to iron their clothes, the uniforms, every night they're ironing. We both know that that's not a very smart thing to do.
Well, in the first place, we know that parents are having an issue in terms of the economy. They would want to do more for their children, but they don't have the resources. And as such, we again promote the principle of structure in the life of the child. So we believe that parents should empower their children to be more responsible. So if it is at all possible, if your child can iron their uniforms as early as Sunday or Saturday for the week to come, that will help them. That will allow them to dedicate more time to the things that they need to, whether it be homework or maybe they want to play some more sports or some more video games. But it must be a trade-off.
Okay, a lot of these parents have forgotten to mention to their children that, you might be bullied, there's going to be peer pressure, how do you handle this, what's the best thing to do in scenarios?
The truth is, children who are bullied oftentimes don't speak out for fear of being ridiculed and for fear of not being believed. And as such, we want parents to realize that pick up some of the cues that your children will pass on to you when they're being bullied. If they're not giving in their homework on time, if they don't want to go to school regularly, if they don't want to go to school, a particular class, pick up some of these hints from your children and be able to have the conversation as to how they can deal with the matter.
We see where children are able to do well in academics, well in sports and other clubs, if they have the proper time management skills, the support, the encouragement. What's the importance of being an all-rounded child, doing well at everything that they set out to do?
The truth is, children have to be balanced. So whilst they're engaging in academics, we want them to also engage in extracurricular activities. But parents must provide an organized platform within which children are able to exercise all of these things in a responsible framework. They will not be able to do all the activities that they want to do and to give equal attention to each. And so in prioritizing some of these activities, you'll be able to contribute your time and to weigh your time against each of them, therefore being able to do a plethora of things.
A lot of parents are afraid of being a friend of their child, but there are benefits of that as well.
We say to parents, hold them before you can control them. And holding your children suggests that you know exactly what's happening with them. Parents have a busy schedule. We recognize that some of them go 9 to 5 and 5 to 9. But it's important for you to utilize technology to your advantage. Be smart as a parent. Set specific goals to develop your child, in the development of your children. Measure those goals. Be able to monitor some of what you have established for your children. But the critical thing we want parents to do is to communicate with your children at all times. Sometimes you're unable to dedicate the full time to go into the room and talk with them, or maybe you can talk to them via WhatsApp. Maybe you can talk to them via Facebook. Know what is happening in the life of your child at all times. Again, hold them before you can't control them.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for those useful ideas.
You're welcome.
Okay, so there you have it. Useful tips on how you can be your child's best parent this school year. For more information on the National Parenting Support Commission, call 967-7977. You may also follow them on Facebook, National Parenting Support Commission, or tweet at MPSC Jamaica.